SU has several subsidized housing units. In these units, there are a lot of physically and mentally disadvantaged people. But because of our economy, there are a lot of families that can't afford housing or appropriate housing. What can City Hall do, and if you get reelected, what do you want to see happen for affordable housing?
Good question. I actually had this document with me the other night during our forum, and there was a question that was not unlike your question. We are just on October 16 going to have our DSAB board receiving a final report on the 10-year strategic plan for affordable housing and homelessness. They intertwine. In our community, many people don't want to acknowledge it, but homelessness is also an issue, and they are closely connected. They actually intertwine. So I have looked at the report. It's a 64-page report with 5 strategic directions in it. Under each of those 5 directions, there are a number of initiatives. We will receive this report at City Hall, or excuse me, at City Council. I'm talking like you. At City Council, once the DSAB board has approved it, it will come to us. I believe it will be one of the very first orders of business of the newly formed council. I'm anxious to see it there. I sat on the DSAB board for 4 years. I was vice chair of the Housing Corporation, part of that board, and I believe that this is a cohesive plan. It's not just Sault Ste. Marie, it's Sault Ste. Marie District, and it's other levels of government. And other agencies, community partners. We have to come together in a fashion that has perhaps not been as cohesive as it has been fragmented. I have great confidence in Mike Nadeau, our DSAB director, our commissioner of social services, and I believe that Mike will drive this plan forward. But council must support it with our full strength, and I will be asking when it comes to our table, Mike, is there anything in here specifically that City Council needs to grab a hold of and accelerate? So it's happening, Mike, but it hasn't been announced yet. It's coming.
Okay.
As closely as I said as October 16, it's on their agenda.
It's been suggested that if the PUC doesn't rectify the water problem, that we go out and look for others to run our system.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that?
I'll be glad to comment on it. A year ago, the PUC came to the City Council and asked for representatives on the Drinking Water Quality Improvement Committee that they formed. And they asked for 3 members of City Council. I volunteered, as did Councillors Butland and Christian, which would be of no surprise considering the issue was in Ward 1 predominantly. But I warned the other members of council at the time. I did it in follow-up emails. This is an issue that affects all of Sault Ste. Marie. It is our municipal drinking water system. Water knows no borders. You may not have an issue today in Ward 3, 4, 5, or 6, but you may. We need to give the full support of all of council and unified to the Ward 1 councillors who are on the front line fighting this battle. Having said that, both Butland and Christian and myself would say we've spent hours on the Drinking Water Quality Improvement Committee. We have insight and understanding now that you cannot capsulate and give to the public in a soundbite. It's complex. The water system, water distribution systems are complex. I learned more about chemistry than I ever hoped to know. I didn't take chemistry in high school, so I struggled through some of these dialogues. But I get it. I understand what happened. We can't turn back the clock. We need to move forward. They have a plan. The plan is in its stages right now, and the end of the first stage where we should see noticeable improvement is at the end of this year. I want to reserve judgment. I said it the other night. I want to reserve judgment until they've had a chance to complete this stage. Part of it was, as you already know, removing the Lorna wells in the East End. They're off the system. There was a big problem there related to the brown water in particular. The whole taste and odor issue is another aspect. It's the aspect around treatment and safe quality water. Tragically, we have Walkerton to thank for a lot of the legislation that is now prohibitive, restricting, and probably a bit of overkill. But if I lived in Walkerton and had lost a loved one, I'd probably feel it's never too much. We've inherited some of that here at Sault Ste. Marie. And I've heard people speak about our water. I'm born and raised here. I know our water. I know how I lived in Toronto and came home and went right to the tap at Christmas time. We all did as kids that were away at university and college. So we know that. But I believe we've got to let PUC do the job that they have right now. One step at a time. I'm not at all ready to go out and say, okay, let's bring in somebody new. I don't want to go back, Mike. These folks have as much vested interest in getting it right as I do, and you do. Who do you think more wants this problem to go away than PUC? So we have to see where it goes right now. We're in process, and I'm optimistic. I sat on the committee, so I'm privy to hours and hours of information that gives me reason to have that confidence. And I can't easily encapsulate it. I apologize, but I can't.
This doesn't require an answer, but how much longer are we gonna have to deal with this? This is the problem.
No, but that's what I said to you, if you heard what I was saying. What I said to you is by the end of this year, which is another couple of months, we'll be at the end of a stage. And you know what? I have a 3-page document. I didn't bring it, but you have it because I believe you carried it on Sioux Online. They did the update on October 3rd. If you read that through, and I know it's hard for people to read this stuff because it's chemistry. It's not easy. But if you read it through, it gives a very clear capsule of what has transpired, what is yet to transpire, and where that will take us. Listen, Mike, I'll be one of the first ones to support that if these planned improvements do not bear fruit as they are supposed to, I'll be certainly one of the first ones, to say, look, we've got to do something else. I just want to let this unfold as it is at the moment. It's not an easy subject. It's plain and simply not. And I mean, even where I live in Ward 2, I've had the taste and odor issue, and I live in a condominium with 58 other homeowners right there in my elevator, in my hall. I hear it. I know the issue.
Did you happen to watch the Ward 1 debate?
I saw the last. I went down that evening about a half an hour before we were to begin, so I saw about the last half hour, 40 minutes. Nobody asked the question of
Yes.
Ward 1. Nobody asked the question.
Yeah.
We were stunned.
Yeah, I was surprised, first of all, because there wasn't very many people there.
Yeah, well, people
And-
were watching
and-
it live, I think. Yeah, they're watching
But
it online, or
But
they're
the ones
watching on
that are most
TV.
vocal should have been there.
Yeah, and they could have sent their question in though, as you know, too.
Exactly,
And that's the
exactly.
thing, questions were being received by social media. You didn't have to be just in the audience.
There was not one question
know.
asked about
I
the
know,
water
I know.
situation.
And I mean, I'm not going to presume to jump to a conclusion, but I can tell you that I was at the library event that was held at Churchill Plaza with Ward 1 and Ward 2 as well. And that one, I was there from the beginning, and I heard both councillors, Butland and Christian, speak about. And quite frankly, Mike, Councillor Butland has documented every call. His calls have virtually stopped in the last few weeks. And so have the PUCs. So it may well be that the issue is unfolding as I'm hopeful it's going to, and as I'm trying to mention, is in the works of happening. So that may be part of the explanation. but
Maybe the-
it still should have been asked.
And maybe the voters have just said, an election is coming, let's change them.
Well, there is a candidate in Ward 1 who is a one-issue candidate, and that evening in the library forum, that individual brought a jar of water with him that he had gathered on the weekend, and quite frankly, I'm looking at it thinking, that water looks perfectly clear. It sure looks nothing like the water Dominic brought that night to council that was amber color. So I don't quite know what that part was about, but it's still there. There's no question it's there, but it's my understanding it's dropped off a lot. So.
Is there any other issue you would like to discuss from Ward 2?
Well, I do want to make the point that I think we are in an era now that I've seen change just in my years on council. People are far more engaged than they were, and I think it's because of social media. We have wonderful media partners in this community, and when I'm saying partners, I mean people who take the responsibility seriously of communicating out to the public what's going on, and then giving the public an opportunity to feedback. Sue Online, the other media outlets in this community, whether it's electronic or whether it's print. this is, I think, a very informed community, in large part thank you to our media. And I think that this community is looking for ways to be heard at City Council, and I'm one of 13. People, I don't believe, are hesitant to call me. I receive calls and emails, and they tell me what they think. I will take it forward. You carried something earlier today where I'm asking City Council to support a resolution where we're going to ask the citizens, what are your priorities in terms of the services that are being paid for with your money? We need to do that. We haven't done that for a long time. We all think we know. Well, I don't know what's really important to you, Mike, because I haven't asked you. And I can speak maybe for some people in Ward 2, but we're only one ward.
Yeah. Would you like to say something to your constituents?
Thank you, Mike. Folks in Ward 2, most of you know me fairly well over these 8 years. At least I hope that you feel you know me. If not, pick up that phone and send an email. I'm at the other end of it. I will respond to you immediately. I said at the outset in this piece that I am a woman of action. The folks that do know me know that. That will continue. I'm very cognizant of the fact that our community has some critical issues facing us in terms of how do we continue to deliver the services and yet keep the taxes down. We've been accused of a political tax rate this year by it being zero. That is not the case. And again, anybody who knows me knows I don't operate that way. We had the retirement of a hospital debt this year. We had a few things in place that enabled us to get to zero. And I believe that's taxpayers' money. If we have that opportunity with the surplus that we had that can take us to zero, that's what we need to do. That would always be a goal. I'm not optimistic enough to think that it'll be every year, but that would be our goal. So I'm aware of the pressures that are on all of us, and I just thank you for your support in the past and ask for it again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.